Hi everyone, I'm Pat Prokop with this tropical weather outlook for Sunday, November 6th. Now, there is an area of concern developing in the tropics that very well could affect our area later this week. Now, the satellite imagery is showing a slowly developing broad area of low pressure. However, as it moves to the north, away from Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, and then toward the west, it will move into an area that will be more favorable for tropical storm development. So let's go to the computer models and take a look at the maps. All right, here we are in the computer models. This is the Global Forecast System, the GFS, and it shows the system initialized today somewhere as a broad area of low pressure around the northern portions of Hispaniola, north of Puerto Rico, to the southeast of the Bahama Islands, right over here, east-southeast of the Bahama Islands. And let's put it into motion as we can see how it progresses over time. It seems to try to get better organized and moves off to the north. However, there's a big area of high pressure right over here, and that's going to start pushing it westward. Let's take a look as time goes by. This is at sunrise on Tuesday, and then we go into middle afternoon on Wednesday, and it brings it back to the northern portions of the Bahamas and increasing in intensity and getting stronger. And then it moves it on sunrise Thursday morning right off the coast of southeastern Florida as what looks like could be a strong tropical storm, even a minimal hurricane. Strong winds will be coming in across the Atlantic coast of Georgia and South Carolina, and that's going to elevate our tides. Putting ahead to the next 24 hours, looking at in advance, here we are at 1 a.m. on Friday, and then going into 2 o'clock Friday afternoon. It has the storm center right over just about Gainesville, Florida, and then moving to the north. And you can see a strong pressure gradient, and this is going to bring in strong southeasterly winds across Georgia and into South Carolina, moderate to heavy rains as well. And then we go into 1 o'clock Saturday morning. It's off the coast of Tybee and Hilton Head Island, and then goes off along the coast of South Carolina, just east of the coast of South Carolina, into the northern portions of eastern North Carolina, then moves eastward into the Atlantic Ocean. All right, that's the GFS model. Let's take a look at the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecast model, the ECMWF, and that shows a similar story. It shows the storm developing and moving off toward the west, and by 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon has it to the east-southeast of the coast of Florida, and then southeastern Florida, and then on right over here at 11 o'clock 10 o'clock actually on Thursday morning, it has it right over just about Cape Canaveral, just south of Cape Canaveral. And guess what? They just rolled the big rocket out there too. They'll probably have to go roll it back. Remember last time they were going to launch the rocket to the moon, a tropical storm came in then, and they had to, that was Ian, and they had to pull it back into the structure building. Looks like they're going to have to do it again anyway. There's a storm. This storm, by the way, could either be named Nicole or Owen. There's another storm on the Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic, that won't affect anybody, but it could pick up one of the names. So we don't know what name this is going to be, if it is a named storm itself, and it looks like it will be. And then going into time by 10 o'clock Friday morning, it is right over St. Simon's Island just about, and then moving northward, and then moving along the coast of South Carolina, North Carolina, and then like the GFS, pushes it out to sea. All right, I want to show you one more model before we go into some other features, and that is the Navy model. And this is showing the storm again as we begin the time. It shows it moving northward and then pushes it westward. The system to the north, this high pressure to the north, starts pushing it westward. And let's see where it pushes it. And it pushes it back to the west, a little bit to the southwest, and intensifies. And then, but it stays off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina, still a very strong storm nearby, and then moves it off to the north into the Outer Banks of North Carolina, off the coast of Virginia to Delaware, and then out in the Atlantic Ocean. So, concerns here. Let's go into the, I want to look at the winds, because that's going to be very important, because we have some high tides, particularly in the morning for all of this week. Mean sea level pressure and 10-meter wind. That's 10 meters above the surface, about 30 feet. And there we go, beginning of the time. shows a very strong fetch of winds moving in off the Atlantic into the coastal areas of, well, mid-Atlantic states to the southeast states and in the coastal areas of Florida. That's going to push the tide higher as it does. It's going to push the tide higher. Now, this is sunrise on Tuesday. Then we go into Wednesday right here. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we have a very strong east to northeast winds off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina and Florida. That's going to elevate already the higher tides across the region. So we're going to keep an eye on that because we could see flooding tides because of this system, particularly on the morning high tide cycle. The tide cycle is about 8.5 feet, not quite 8.5 feet, just through the lunar solar effects of gravity. However, this is going to pump it up a good 2 feet higher than that, maybe 3 feet higher. So we could be seeing 10 to 11 foot tide. And you know, in the Georgia area anyway, about 9.5 thereabouts starts flooding. The marshes start overflowing and the water starts coming up to some of the roads. Let's look ahead for Friday morning. And here we have sunset on Thursday, and it moves, of course, across the coast of Florida, but that brings still strong easterly flow of winds, so that's going to keep the tides elevated. Maybe even the evening tide on Thursday could be flooding, along with the morning high tide. And then Friday morning, we still see high tides moving in with the strong winds. So we're going to have the issues with the tide. Now, what about precipitation? Let's look at that. Let's go back to the initial state here. And it looks like we're going to see quite a bit of rain, particularly in the coastal regions of, well, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, North Carolina. So let's put this into motion. This is the total accumulated precipitation from the global forecast model system. And it shows, you know, the heaviest rains, this is like 2 to 4 inches of rain, maybe 5 inches in some locations. Along the coastal areas of Georgia, South Carolina, good chunk of Florida and southwest Florida, they really don't need that right now. But, you know, we could use some of this rain. I don't want it all at once, but interior Georgia could get some beneficial rains out of it. But then again, you're going to get the damaging or strong winds associated with the rains. But the coastal areas could see quite a bit of rain associated with this. So we're keeping an eye on that. So with that being said, let's see what we need to know. The threat period will be Wednesday through Saturday morning for coastal Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina into North Carolina. The threats include very high to flooding high tides, particularly during the morning high tide cycles, but also for the evening tide cycles Thursday and possibly Friday. A high surf will generate moderate to heavy beach erosion throughout the period. There will be a threat for very heavy rains Thursday and Friday, particularly in the coastal counties, with lesser amounts further inland. And there will be the threat for damaging winds and tornadoes, particularly Thursday and Friday in the coastal counties and the counties adjacent to the coast. It depends on also where the storm moves. If it moves further inland and further westward, then more threat of high winds and tornadoes will exist further inland. Keep in mind this system is still several days out, and variations in its forecast path will most likely occur, with the possibility could remain east of the coast altogether. But the bottom line is stay vigilant and be prepared. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. You can follow me on my Weather and Nature Facebook page at Pat Prokop's Weather and Nature, and on Twitter at Pat of Savannah, and right here on YouTube as Pat's Weather and Nature channel. I have links to all of these in the description box below. Please continue to monitor this storm, particularly if you are in the southeast United States. Until next time, see you right here on YouTube with more tropical weather updates.